Hey everyone, and welcome to my explainer video for a vocabulary expansion and critical thinking activity called word sort. But before we get started, here's a little joke for you. Everyone knows the famous martial artist, Bruce Lee, but do you know about his brother? Broccoli? Word sorts are vocabulary strategies in which students categorize new words. In a closed word sort, the categories are provided. In an open word sort, students sort the words into categories that make sense to them, encouraging creativity and critical thinking. This activity should be done in pairs, so that the students think out loud and communicate their thinking to each other. In this video, I'll explain how a word sort works from start to finish. I like to follow the PPP lesson plan format, but I like to call it a think, play, and create. For me, it just sounds a little bit more tantalizing, a little bit more exciting. So let's get started. One of the reasons that I really love word sort activities is that they help turn information into knowledge. We take the information about words, their part of speech, their definition, their spelling, and we turn it into some actionable knowledge. Students use critical thinking skills and prior knowledge to make connections between words and really get a deeper understanding of how words are associated. The first thing you want to do in any word sort activity is to get students thinking. In my classroom, I do this with a mind map. Students brainstorm words that come into their mind when they think about the word in the center. Any word association will do. Could be a synonym, an antonym, a collocation. It doesn't have to be a right answer. It just has to make sense. My mind maps contain the key word in the central node, 6 connected nodes, a picture of the word, and the word used in a complete sentence. I will sometimes break students into pairs, but usually I like to do this as a whole class. Students and I will brainstorm possible vocabulary words that match up with the word in the middle. The next step is to play. In small groups or in pairs, students will use the word sort handout that I have created and try to fill in the blanks together. The easy version of a word sort has 24 words to fit into 24 nodes. The harder version, the upgraded version, or the red herring version, has 28 words to fit into 24 blanks. The next step is to play. In small groups or in pairs, students will use the word sort handout that I have created and try to fill in the blanks together. The easy version of a word sort has 24 words to fit into 24 nodes. The harder version, the upgraded version, or the red herring version, has 28 words to fit into 24 blanks. Here's another example of my word sort answer page. I try to make sure that the visual example I provide gives students an idea of the keyword, but it doesn't point it out completely. I want them to do the heavy cognitive lifting. And finally, one more example of what a word sort might look like. Next, students expand on that gameplay. Once students have filled in all of the blank nodes, they will try and label the connecting lines between the nodes to explain how the words are associated or connected. And lastly, students will expand their mind map by adding new nodes to the original word, or adding an additional outer layer of nodes to the sorted words. And the final step in this activity is to create. This is where the students become the teachers. I'll give each group or pair a blank word sort template, and the students have to fill in the blanks. They have to think of the key words, write down the word associations, and if they have time, illustrate the word with a little doodle. Sketch out a picture that represents what the word means. Now, if you like a challenge, tell students not to give you the answer key. But if you're like me and not so great at these puzzles, make sure that you have your students give you an answer key like this, where each word is represented by a symbol, so that you can process these puzzles more quickly and make even more for your students to enjoy. I like this activity because it helps students get comfortable with the mind mapping concept before we move on to a more digital process where they create their own online. If I were to introduce a new concept in new tech, all of this in the student's second language, all at the same time, I think I'd be setting myself up for failure. So the word sort activity really helps me scaffold this essential classroom process in a way that everyone understands. One of my favorite parts of this activity is its simplicity. You don't need to prepare much, and you don't need to say much. Mostly, it's self-explanatory, and the materials that you need are easily reproduced. The first thing you need is an answer key. I put this one together using printable materials found on the BrainPop Educator's website. A closer look shows my 4 key steps, the 4 directions that students need to follow to successfully complete this activity. And finally, of course, you need the answer page. My answer page was made in a PowerPoint. What I used were the words and a visual representation. All I did for these was search Google for noun project icons and the word that I wanted to find. There are tons of great images available to get students' creativity sparked. And the last thing you need is good teacher talk. Because I teach English language learners, I try to keep my instruction as simple as possible. But no matter what you teach, no matter what kind of students you have in your classroom, good teacher talk is just good teaching. So here's what I say to my students. Step 1, look. Now for my students, that's usually all I'll say. For your more mainstream students, you might want to give them a more detailed instruction, like, look at your answer paper. Look at mind map number 1. Look at the word in the central node, and look at the picture in the box. Number 2, match. Again, for me, that's it. But you might want to stretch that out a little bit. You might say, number 2, match. Look at the answer paper and try to match the picture and word from the answer paper to the picture and word from the mind map. Number 3, write. Write down the word from the answer paper in a node on your mind map. Number 4, X. After you finish writing the word, X the word out on the answer page. This will help you later on if you're doing one of the hard level puzzles. Because if you're playing a harder puzzle, after you've crossed out 24 words, you should have 4 words left. And those 4 words are the red herrings. Those are the words that I throw in there just to kind of get students off their game and get them second guessing themselves, which is of course the critical thinking aspect that goes into this puzzle. So, what's next for you? Are you going to give this a try in your classroom? Here's what it looks like in mine. And if you'd like to see a full example from start to finish, you can find it on my YouTube page, Kaizen Teaching. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.